Cam's numbers over the last 8 games have just fallen off. His QBR down 20 points, his rushing is way down, and he hasn't won any of his last 8 starts. So, Dan Orlovsky, I will give you again the first word on this here. Do you feel like we are seeing the beginning of the end of Cam Newton's time in Carolina right before our eyes?
I do. Unfortunately, Greeny, I do. And the reality is this. Look at Cam the last 3 years. Cam's had just 3 years, Greeny. He's had a concussion. He's had the shoulder issue in 16. He's had the knee sprain in 16, a significant knee sprain in 16. Then last year, we have the shoulder tear that requires surgery. Now we have a foot sprain. That's 6 to 7 relatively decent injuries or impactful injuries in 3 years. We've all heard this kind of saying when it comes to coaching. You just keep chipping away at the rock with little hits, and eventually the rock will bust from the inside out. I believe that's what we're seeing with Cam Newton. He's had all these little hits since 2011 of coming into the NFL, and we loved it in 11 and 12 and 13. We loved this style of play, but all those little hits have added up, and the human body is not made. It's not the big hit. The human body is not made to take all those little hits at that position over time. And this is really what we're seeing with Cam Newton is all those hits from the past 8 or 9 years have kind of accrued or built up, and we're seeing his body kind of fall apart before our eyes.
I totally agree. And Domonique, I'll put it this way. He does the Superman thing, and Dan just used the word human. Sometimes I think we have acted like Cam Newton was not human, like he is actually Superman. But what we're seeing is that was fool's gold from the beginning, and I blame a lot of people for all the hits he has taken.
Oh, yeah. I think you can blame Cam for some of the hits he's taken. You can blame the officials for not protecting him in the way they deserve. You can blame the coaches for putting a lot of pressure on him. But I also want to celebrate what Cam has done up until this point. Cam has been phenomenal, and I think this offense was entirely built around Cam with not much support, with not many deep threats necessarily, not many running backs that he can depend on. They had some here and there with Stewart and guys like that, but Cam Newton has been impossibly good while carrying a physical load that has caused other guys to retire.
That's not debatable, but here's the other side of that is that we are seeing guys, particularly at that position, playing well into their 30s, making tens of millions of dollars for 8 or 9 more seasons than he's going to be able to. Someone along the way should have said to him, you know what? And to his coaches and everybody else, getting this guy hit like this is going to shorten his career.
No, I believe you believe that, but when you go out and get Cam, some of those physical measurements, the physicality he was able to play the game with was the reason you went out and drafted him #1 overall. You didn't go out and draft him and say, when we get this guy, we are going to turn him into Tom Brady. He's going to stand in this pocket and stand tall, get rid of the ball, get it out quick.
Isn't there a happy medium? I understand that. He's not Tom Brady.
Well, there's a happy medium in the way you can coach him. There is no happy medium in stopping somebody from being themselves. And that's what made Cam great.
RC, how many designed running plays did they have for him over the course of his career?
No, there were a ton of designed running plays, and I'm with Domonique on having the opportunity to celebrate them. You can't walk into a game and say, you know what, rather than do everything it takes to win, I'm going to do what it takes to extend my career. And so and that's why when I hear someone say that he didn't care about other people, he didn't care about the team, that's not true, because there was a way to preserve himself, and he chose not to.
Let me let Graziano get a word here. Dan Orlovsky, I'm coming to you in a minute. Go ahead, Graziano.
Well, the problem is that invincibility becomes his thing, and it becomes the thing the Carolina Panthers count on. And so you build your team kind of counting on that. And now when it starts to erode, that's why you see the mood change in that building. They're confronting something that they hoped to put off for at least several more years.
Orlovsky, final word.
Yeah, this is the reality with some of the young quarterbacks that we're seeing now. And I think the best way to describe Cam is he would rather choke on greatness than nibble on mediocrity. Cam was a great talent for 9 years so far, but he had to play that way. He had to play that way to be the great player that he was. That's where the Deshaun Watsons or the Carson Wentzes, and I've said this to you, Greeny, those guys are going to choke on greatness more than just nibble on mediocrity because of the style of their play.
Well, and you know what? If you've got Nick Foles as your backup quarterback in Philadelphia, maybe you want to consider keeping him no matter what the cost is, because if your quarterback is choking on greatness, he's not going to see Week 16.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.